Right, guys. 48-volt battery, Hue Long. I think that's how you pronounce it. Down tube type. Standard battery basically. This one's rated to 48 volts. Customer says it fully charges. Show fully charged on the LCD indicator, but then as soon as you start throttling up after the first mile, the battery just completely cuts out. That would suggest one, two, maybe three things. First would be the battery's age. Second would be the cells are out of balance. Third would be the BMS discharge MOSFETs not producing enough power, basically, or not giving out enough power. With this one, I think it's going to be a cell balance. That's my inclination. Customer paid for a diagnostic, $29.99. That covers the full rebalance. So hopefully it's just that. What I can say is this is not factory, as in this has been built by somebody. The case itself is missing one, two, three screws. Three are in. It's been black sealed all the way along. So I wanted to get this one on camera because, quite frankly, we don't know what we're going to find inside this. But we'll have a look. First things first, we'll pop the case open, see how easy it's going to be. Chances are it's going to put up a bit of a fight because of all the seal. There shouldn't be a problem though. Customer also has lost the key. If they want to swap the barrel out and put a new key on it. But let's just see how many screws are in this. And any more? One more. That's not screwed into anything. Not one there. Not one there. And that's that. Right, I got a funny feeling we're going to have to cut this seal away to get it to open. It depends what type of seal it is, basically. How good it's going to be. Stanley blade. Just going to score along the edge to try and break any seal that's there. It's a good idea to seal it, but the question is, did they just seal it because the screws have gone, the holes, so they couldn't fix it together properly? If that's the case, then it's a good idea. Or did they seal it for another reason? Hey, she opens. Right. First things first, let's get rid of this lock. Right. Something going on inside here. What the hell is this? Ah. Right. There's a surprise up in this side. I'll show you now. Something I don't think I have seen. See, it's just got interesting. We'll recase this if need be. But someone's definitely built this. Because that is an aftermarket BMS. The Hue Long does not fit. Or any company fits. And that's too much money for a BMS for this type of battery. That's way too much money. Okay, that explains why the power indicator didn't work. So unscrew this a second. And then we can check the balance. Ooh. Yeah, this is fun already. There's wires loose everywhere. What the hell is this? Right, let me get some tape a second. This needs taping off. Right, I've got to make sense of this a second. What is going on here? I'll tell you what, let me just pause this a second and go grab some additional tools just to make this safe, because this has been wired up with sellotape. Literally 2 seconds. Right. Removed him from his case safely because this thing's falling apart. The power indicator does work, so there's no problems there. This BMS is a 2-wire BMS instead of the normal 3-wire. Let me have a quick look at this. Samsung cells, model 29Es. I'll check the spec now. Now, normally when we check the balance on a battery, we can disconnect the balance leads here, so we haven't got to fiddle with any of this. In this case, because this BMS is not standard, as in it didn't come from the factory, I'm going to have to remove the tape that's holding it together. Very gingerly. Yeah, there's a lot of tape holding this together for some reason. So checking the balance there is definitely not good. So we're going to have to check it this way. Well, the battery's not even sealed, so let me just have a quick look. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. Let me pull up the spec for Samsung cells a second, and I can work out exactly what this battery is and what it can do. These are Samsung 29E cells. Samsung 29Es. Specs are... I should have pulled all this up anyway. 2.8 milliamps capacity, so 2.8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got 2.8 times 5 in a row. She's a 14 amp hour battery. No signs of rust. By balance, as you can see, there's a lot of cells, but there are 13 rows. There is one row here, which connects to one row there, which connects to another row on the other side. So we've got 13 rows all the way down. 3.6 times 13 gives 48 volts. Each of these rows needs to be exactly the same. What I mean by that is if I measure the first row of 5 and they measure 3.5, then the next row should also measure 3.5, and so should every row all the way down till I get to the bottom. Looking at this battery though, it wouldn't be suited for a 1,000-watt bike and above, really. I don't know what the customer's got. Let me just check a second, because I've got the bike as well. Alright, it does look like a 1,000-watt motor actually. Let's check the balance. Whoever wired it up patched it all in here instead of wiring it directly to the cell heads. They've patched it up there. Yeah, we're definitely not going to be able to find out here. So 48 volts, 35 amps. Now she's out of the way. Let's get the multimeter in. Right, this is where we check our rows from row 1 all the way down to 13. And hopefully it is out of balance and it's not a case of the battery's age. There's no rust spots, no marks left and right. So the battery is in good condition, in good looking condition anyway. So what we got? Let's go to row 1 first. Row 1 is 4.1, so that's almost fully charged. Row 2 is 4.1. We're not going to worry about the point. Let's find row 2 a second. Row 2 is 4.1. Row 3 is 4.1. Row 4 is 4.1. So far so good. Row 5 is 4.1. Row 6 is 4.1. Row 7 is 4.1. Oh dear. Row 8 is 4.1. This battery is balanced so far. I think we're on row 9, 4.1. 4.1. So this battery is perfectly balanced. It's the age. How old is this? Well, it's had a second BMS installed. Okay. Let's just triple check that a second. 4.1. 4.1. 4.1. 4.1. 4.1. 4.1. Yeah, just triple checking everything. So how old is this battery? That's the question. Obviously there would be stickers on the original blue plastic wrap seal, but since it's already been opened before, that seal's not on there. So 4.1. Yeah, cells are all matching within point millivolts. So it is not that, it is the age of the battery. Let me see, the BMS is requiring 35 amps. Let's check. Let's just see if this battery is powerful enough to power in the first place. So it's 13 in series, 48 volts, 35 amps. This BMS is supposed to give out. These cells give out continuous discharge. Let me see. That's charging current, discharge current, maximum current. Oh dear. Maximum discharge current for one of these. I'm going to need to pull this up on screen. Bear with me a second. Just going to flip to this. Okay. Let's have a quick look at what I'm looking at. Cell capacity is 2.850 milliamps, so 2.8 gives us that 14 amp hour battery. This is the concerning part. Maximum discharge current. The BMS will give out 35 amps. One cell will give out 2.7 amps. That means it gives out 2.7 amps of power when you pull the throttle. Now we've got 5 cells in a row. Flip back. We've got our 5 in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we take the 5 times it by the 2.750, which is the discharge current. So 5 times 2.750. Well, that is not right at all. Let me just double check that a second. Yeah, that's scary. So anyway, 5 times 3.7 is 13.5. This battery will only give out 13.5 amps. As we can see via the BMS, it's trying to suck 35 amps out of the battery. This is why we're getting slowed down and cut off. Let's run back through this again. Let's get it right up back. It's a 13 series battery. 13 times 3.5 gives you your 48 volts. And the 5 in a row is supposed to give 35 amps. Because this is not the right battery for that bike at all. This shouldn't be on anything over 500 watts. So what it's doing, the BMS is trying to suck 35 amps from these cells and supply it to the controller. The problem is these cells can't give out 35 amps. These cells are only ever designed to give out 2.7 amps each. Times that by the 5 gives us 13.5 amps. This is not a battery for a 1000 watt bike. Now, just as a reference, these are Samsung 29E model cells. If the cells wasn't the model 29E and let's say they were 35E, and just have a quick look at the data sheet for the 35E model and you'll see the difference. Discharge, charging, maximum discharging current. Notice is 8.0 milliamps. Now if I took that 8 and times it by the 5, that battery would be giving out 40 amps. So what they've done is they put the wrong battery on the wrong bike. In short, that's what it is. This can only give out 13.5 amps when the BMS is trying to suck 35 out of it. If it was Samsung model 35E cells instead of the 29Es, then it'd give out 8 times 5, 40 amps, which would be the correct battery for this bike. So in short, the battery technically is fine. It can be put on any bike, just no bigger than 500 watts. It can't be used on a 1500, 1000 watt kit that's on the Cube customer's bike. That's why it's getting fully charged as soon as your throttle is cutting out. There is not enough power in these cells to get that motor to spin. Yeah, in short, that's it. It should have been a straight balance, but it's just a general mismatch when someone built the bike. What I can say is I've seen this bike before. I think it was about 12 months ago. The battery was originally mounted across the bike crossbar, and that was a Samsung 29E battery. This one I pulled from the triangle, and obviously it's not the original one. But yeah, that's the problem with this. This is the wrong battery for that bike. Right, I'll leave it there. See you next time, guys.